Welcome to Mat Time. I'm Dan. Well, my first tip, if we acknowledge and respect the fact that children learn through play, is that parents as first teachers should play with their children. That the best thing you can actually do is get down there and become involved in whatever it is that they're playing with at home. But that leads on to my important second tip, which is you need to allow your child to lead that play. So often when we become involved in play, we try and start to take over a narrative. If we're playing a game with some figures on the ground or some dolls, or we try and start to do a drawing and say, what do you think? And it's really important in that space to trust that the child has a lot of agency and they're enjoying the control that they're having over their own learning through making up their own story or designing how they want the game to go. And so when you get down on the floor, tip number one to play with your child, you've got to let your child take control of that play, and you just sit there and let them. Tip number three would be to therefore give your child as much time as you can. So I think if we're interested in supporting the learning of our children, what we need to recognise is, while for different points in time there's been all that discussion around quality time versus time, well, I think what we know is that the more time you can spend with your child, the better. And that doesn't mean that it has to be the complete intensive kind of play and experience of spending time with a child that you get from that quality time idea of I must sit there with my child or take them on an outing or do something very purposeful with them. Spending time with your child actually means just being in a space with them. Them reading a book and you reading a book next to them. Them seeing you washing the dishes and them sitting at the table doing something else. Which is really about tip number 4, which is you teach your children best through modelling and role modelling. And like I said, I'm involved a lot with technology, so I use this a lot in terms of talking about technology and children. We all worry about how our children use technology or how much they're using technology. And I point to the fact that if you are a young child, even only 12 months old, and you could talk and give your perspective on the world, and somebody said to you, what do you think the most important thing on this planet is? Many children would actually say it's that thing that everyone seems to have in their pocket, because we're all doing this, and children are seeing us do that. So, it's really interesting how in so many ways we say that we worry about children's experience of something, but what we need to recognise is that the way they observe us engaging with the world will impact on them. So that means doing things like making sure that Dad does the dishes sometimes, that if you're worried about gender roles, that you reverse them and you demonstrate those to your child in real life. My final tip is that learning is a with thing, not a to thing. And so it sort of encompasses all of the other things that I've said, but that effectively, if we're there to support our children's learning and development, that we do that with them and not to them. And that if we recognise that all of us are lifelong learners and constantly learning, especially as parents, and we all know this as parents, is that our children will teach us constantly all the time and push us to places that we didn't know we could go, and we can learn through that kind of experience. But what we need to realise is that our children have as much to teach us as we have to teach them.
Thanks for watching Mat Time. If you'd like to see more videos like this, then click the subscribe button up there, and I'll see you next time.